Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Cristina. So I'm going to start with a quick presentation of our studio. It's international. We're based in Barcelona, Zurich, and Paris, but our projects are mostly in Europe. And over the years, it's won several prizes. One of the last ones would be we were highlighted as the top 100 architecture firms in Domius magazine. The studio is led by Professor José Luis Mateo from Barcelona, and there's a team of international and younger architects joining him. Sorry. This is a glimpse of some of the recent projects. We highlighted a few of them. One is under construction in France, in Nice. It's a multifunctional building. And the other one in Spain is, I don't know if this works. Well, it's a museum in Mallorca for a photograph. Then in France, University for Arts and Residential for Students. Netherlands, residential for elderly people. France, residential apartments. In Portugal, an art center. Czech Republic, the entrance for the National Gallery in Prague. And Netherlands, the headquarters for a company in Zeist. Okay, let's start with a project that we chose to explain here. It was a competition in 2004 for a skyscraper for the company Mac Arial in Zurich. And from our collaborators, I would highlight Professor Agustí Ubior as a structural engineer who was key for the development of this project, as you will see later. For now, let's start with the urban planning strategy. The tower was placed in the industrial, in the Zurich West, which was an industrial hub that was being transformed into a dynamic neighborhood, combining new developments with refurbishment of industrial areas. And the plot was in the intersection of two main infrastructural axes, the train and a road, and an elevated road, as you can see here. So the road was over the bridge that continued a long time after the crossing. So there was these two very powerful elements, and we were just in the corner. The bridge made us think about two different scenarios: the life under the bridge and over the bridge, which would be different and would be taken into account after for the project, and also all the different pedestrian accesses, since there were so many different levels. That was also part of how to make all the pedestrian access go into this area. In terms of the local urban strategy, there were three anchoring points. The first one was more related to the local urban structure, in combining there was a combination of the orthogonal grid and then a diagonal line that crossed this grid, and with two existing buildings. Apart from this, there was the metropolitan urban structure that I mentioned before, with the two main axes that made the building was going to be a corner of this crossing. And then finally, the volumetric development of this building related to the adjacent existing elements that we will see right after. The first one would be, these diagonal lines that were very strong. So we wanted to continue with these lines. The project itself was, I don't know if, was the long building on the right, the existing building on the right, and then the two new buildings. One would be the skyscraper, and the other one would be lower. So there were 3 buildings, yeah, and because there was this corner, the diagonal made even more sense to highlight the turning of this corner, and finally there were these 2 lines that made the form of the building as an hexagon, and there were 2 different hexagons that were connected to each other. The big one would be more lighter, and the small one would be darker and less tall. In terms of the volume, instead of rising the tower equally, it was related to the elements beside it. On the right, there was the existing building that was integrated into the base of the building to create a singular base. And on the left side, there was the high road that was shaping the facade. This only happened with the facades that were in the diagonal line, and the other ones would be anchoring the building, as you will see later. But the small building, the Cubus building, was creating a relationship with the things that happened under the bridge. So there was this covered area for pedestrians, and then the bridge that rose above this the other bridge. Well, this more detailed section of the building, with all the different studies of whether to keep it straight or keep it with a shape. In terms of the floor plan, it was decided early in the project that the facade would be load-bearing. So there was structurally there was the core and the facade, apart from a couple of walls, but mainly it was so it was free of columns. It made it very flexible and also very efficient for the office, which was a requisite of the competition. And there were some different options that we suggested for dividing into 3, 4, or 1 single space. And also because the tower had this shape that was not constant in height, it was proposed also to suggest some different activities along the tower that made it more with more character. For example, the top areas with an inner courtyard could be more like a business units for like a general company that could have the whole thing connected with this inner courtyard. Then there was probably in the middle suggested to do some connection point, like a wellness or fitness center, which was the thinnest part. And then at the bottom, with the bigger floor plans, some other business center with more meeting areas and bigger spaces. This was the floor plan of the small one, which is very similar to the other one, but in the outside it would be darker, more connected to the earth, in contrast with the tower that would be lighter and taller. And the existing building that would be part of the base of the tower. And well, in the ground floor also there was this aim to create a pedestrian area. It was this diagonal line in red, more following the existing street, and that was crossing the 3 buildings, was related to the 3 buildings, partly covered, partly uncovered. That would create this kind of scenarios with terraces and outdoor spaces covered and not covered. In terms of the materiality and the structure, well, the studio has always been doing a lot of models and working in shape, and this project was very important for that because the shape of the building was very important. So You can see at the left the final result, but there were many other options previously. What was decided at the end is that there was these two corners that would be constant throughout the height and would be anchoring the building structurally. And on the other hand, there would be the diagonal facades that would relate with the highway and the existing building below that would have this shape. In terms of the load transfer, the typical thing for a load-bearing facade would be to have the bigger openings in the in the upper floors and smaller openings in the lower floors, because that's where the higher stresses of the building are. But working together with a structural engineer, it was decided that it was also it would also make sense to make it into a diagonal form, as you can see on the right. That would make the building have an expressive facade, and also not having only the bigger windows in the upper floors. It was a combination in all floors. So, well, that were all the studies of the engineers that made finally look like that. With you can see the expression of the structure in the facade, how the loads are going down in diagonal shapes, diagonal lines. And there was all this study of different window openings and different treatments of the windows, also to distinguish a little bit more the diagonal facades from the corners. These were the windows were at the outer layer to make it like a single sheet, and then the other ones from the corners were inside the windows to make it look more deep, as you maybe in here it's, well, you can see somehow the detail. Well, and finally, I just wanted to show some different views of this project that was one of the most, well, the one that was more, we would like to have built that. Unfortunately, it was not. And finally, what is interesting is that all these studies on the facade were not worthless, because after that there was another project in France, and it was this strategy on the facade. Let's see if, yeah. This strategy on the facade was implemented in this other building. It's not the same because the building is lower and you cannot see as much all the load-bearing, all the transferred loads, but it was kind of the same strategy that was, well, at least we could implement all these ideas in another project. Well, thank you.